This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And there is so much news in aviation, and also, by the way, on the war against Iran. Just came out a little bit ago, and the markets went crazy. We're happy to hear this news. President Trump coming out and saying, we won't be there much longer soon. He said that in an interview with the New York Post. So where is all of this headed? Let's go to Brigadier General Blaine Holt. Of course, a retired C-17 commander, also aviation inspector also. So he's everything, and deputy to NATO. So you got it all there, Brigadier General. We love having you. First of all, what do you think is going to happen? Where is this going with all of the different, the different layers? Because on one hand, he's saying it's going to wrap up soon. Maybe 2-3 weeks seems to be what people are saying. And then on the other hand, we dropped a 2,000-pound bunker buster bomb on a big ammo depot, and the 82nds there, the H.W. Bush, the latest carrier group, just pulled out. So it's definitely this sort of parallel peace through strength. You better come to the table or else.
Yeah, listen, the president has all his options right in front of him on how he wants to handle this, because he really loaded the deck with all the force. And then you have pundits will say, oh, well, this means we're going to have a big Iraq style or Afghanistan style invasion. No, this is called the United States military by itself is leverage, and he's getting where he wants to be with negotiations. I know that we're talking to what might be the new transitional government before too long. We're dealing and settling the truth with Europe and their malfeasance in all of this. And then the 2,000-pound bunker busters are very interesting to me. That's in the bunker buster family, that's a very light weapon, which means they were going for, like you said, your word, a certain layer. And I think that the president's comments have to do with the success of that mission. It does seem that they're closing out the target sheet that they wanted to get to make the ground very fertile for the Iranian people to take back their country. But still, at the top of my list is those straits have got to get open, and we cannot let the Houthis have any water anywhere near the Red Sea.
Well, and that's the other thing. You've got the Houthis who are now rearing up, and they're saying that they want to hit, and they've already gone after a couple. They did send the missile to Israel. I'm waiting for, you've got Hezbollah in the north. Hamas is a little busy now, but I'm looking at Governor Pataki too. Where do you think this is headed?
Well, General, I don't know, but I hope what the general is saying is right, is that the targets have been hit and the president can get us out of this. But you just said something very important, which is we have to get the Straits of Hormuz open. To have them opened by Iran and having complete control and being able to charge tolls or whatever they want to do, I think would be a disaster. So how do we manage to have that happen without somehow giving in to the Iranian government?
Yeah, Governor, the way I see this in its very best path would be the free Iranian people dump their government. That has to happen, because if not, we're just going to have revenge-minded terrorists for the rest of our lives. So they've got to take over. They would then welcome the U.S. military in for stabilization operations and control of the straits. That's not a combat mission. That's a stabilization mission. There's a difference. And then the other part is they would welcome us to go out and find the 462 grams of enriched uranium. I'm sure they'd give it to us willfully in exchange for us helping them get back into the world community. My concern, though, is that our not so friendly folks up in the UK right now, well, the Lloyd's of London folks effectively financially shut down the straits. They haven't done that in their 337-year history. And my mind then goes to what the Houthis are doing. If they put a tag on a ship, are we going to see that Lloyd's pulls all the insurance wrappers from shipping companies going up the Suez? If they do that, not only are we going to see a fuel crisis, But we see an emerging food crisis in the precursors to fertilizer not making it to Africa, which means bare grocery stores for Europe by the fall.
General, you're absolutely right that if the Iranian people do take over the government, that is by far the best solution. And I think we're all praying for that, but we just don't know if that's in fact going to happen. Let's all hope that it does. But you mentioned England. And I have to tell you, one of the most disappointing things to me has been the NATO so-called allies not only not helping, I can understand not helping, but actually hindering the United States. This is not our battle. We're not the ones who need Middle Eastern oil. We're not the ones who are threatened by Iranian rockets and missiles. Europe is. And why they are not only not helping, they are hindering our efforts. Do you think there's any way for NATO to survive once this is done?
I'm very, very concerned that we're looking at the final days of NATO, and I'll tell you why is they are pulling themselves out of U.S. vital interests. NATO and the security of Europe have been in our vital interests, but look at what they've done. They have deindustrialized themselves at the altar of climate change. They've thrown all their money and weapons into Ukraine, and they won't follow the president's lead towards a solution. And now they're blocking us.
Hold on a second. We got some breaking news.
Breaking news, WABC.
And it just came out, guys, that, of course, the arguments tomorrow with the birthright citizenship at the High Court, at the Supreme Court. And President Trump is just announcing he will go to the Supreme Court tomorrow to hear the argument. So it shows how big of a deal it is to him and his administration. Judge Weinberg.
It's one of the most important cases in America's history.
And Craig, real quick, your thoughts.
That's amazing. Has a president ever gone to the Supreme Court before?
Yeah, that's highly unusual, isn't it, Governor Pataki?
It's very unusual. Yeah. I just hope the court follows the law. That's their job.
Yeah, that is their job. Absolutely. And obviously the stakes are very high.
And General Holt, have you heard about that engine blowing up in that Delta plane today?
I did. It gets you and I right back to where we were before, John. We've got to go through training records. How were people hired? What are the practices? How were they different before the Biden administration and all the woke DEI stuff? Because we keep finding roots and connective tissue back to those events, and there's too many of them to be a statistical coincidence. That's just not possible anymore.
I've been flying for 40 years, and you've been flying just as long, and we have never seen it like this before.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Well, thank you, General, for coming on today. And what do we all stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
And John, and happy Passover to all our listeners, and happy Easter this weekend.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.